Good morning and welcome to BHF Radio. I'm Bhavini Makwana and I have Barash with me.
Hi, how are you all?
And welcome and thank you Kalaben, Mayaben and Hiran for that lovely bhajan show. You can catch them every morning. One thing is for sure, you never know exactly what you're going to get. Today I heard talks from the Gangaji, food, hairbands. But one thing you can guarantee is you'll get fantastic bhajans each morning and the daily arti at 8 a.m. So do check them out. And all that food talk has made me and Barish very hungry. Just going back on what they were saying, I think I'm so looking forward to visiting my parents again. It's been over a year now since I last visited them, and one thing I do like when I go and visit them is I'll always get undiyu. That is my favorite and I love it when my mom makes it. So undiyu, val, darbak and dhokra with munthar. That's the traditional dish I'll always get when I visit. Me and my dad love it, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So welcome, and it's Saturday the 13th of March here in London. It's a bit of a mixture of weathers. It's sunny, it's bright, but it's also windy and it's raining, I think. So enjoy today, whatever you've got planned. But for the next hour, do stay tuned into me, BHF Radio. I'm Bhavini. Today, we will be talking to my guest, Chintal, who will be joining me shortly. But before we bring her on, I'm sure you've all heard about Harry and Meghan and their interview that they did with Oprah Winfrey. The documentary aired on Monday, the 8th, on ITV1 at 9 o'clock. So if you haven't yet missed it, if you have missed it, you can still catch it up on Catch Up TV. But there's been lots of things in the news, so I'm sure you got glimpses of what happened and the kind of scandal that's been going on with the royal family. So you can always catch up on that. But it also, next week, don't forget, it's the census and it's so important to complete that, so make sure you do. But I think importantly, it's good to mention that if you think you'll have a difficulty in completing the form, you can always get help. Ring up the number and explain. They'll give you a code which will be texted to you, and when you ring them back with that code number, someone on the phone will actually help you complete it. So that's, if you want to, well, make sure you do fill it in. But if you think you're going to struggle, that is available. It was also Shivratri on Thursday. Happy Shivratri to those who were celebrating. And our first song will be in dedication of Shankar Bhagwan. But like mentioned, I'll be joined by Chintal Kakaya, who will be joining me just after the first track. And we'll be talking about how Chintal actually contracted COVID. She'll be sharing her own experience, letting us know, her signs, the symptoms, how she dealt with it, how she managed, what it was actually like for her and her family. She's a mother of 2 children. So we'll be hearing all about that, and she'll be sharing some tips of home remedies, just to boost her immunity, her general health. So it's really fascinating. So stay tuned. Our first track is called JJ Shiv from Disha Roy.
COVID-19, especially the new variant, is spreading quickly across the country. This puts many people at risk of serious disease and is placing a lot of pressure on our NHS. Once more, we must all stay home. If it is essential to go out, remember, wash your hands, cover your face indoors, and keep your distance from others. Vaccines give clear hope for the future, but for now, we must all stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
Welcome back, and that was Disha Roy singing JJ Shiv. If you'd like to get in touch with us, we are speaking to Chintal, who'll be talking about her experience of contracting COVID. If you've got any questions or would just like to get in touch, you can email me, Bhavini, at bhfradio.org.uk. A big hello and shout out to Jazz and Harry who've messaged in, tuning in, and it's very, very cold in Leicester, they say. Hope you're keeping warm and, stay tuned to the next hour on BHF Radio. So I am joined by Chintal, and good morning, Chintal. Welcome to BHF Radio. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Bhavini, and good morning to all the wonderful listeners. I'm doing very well, thank you. Yes, it is very cold and breezy here as well, but I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, really good, and I will be staying indoors today because it's absolutely raining and windy here. Chintal, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's Chintal Kakaya. I am a mum of 2 children and a wife to a very supportive husband. I am an occupational therapist, and I work in the NHS, and I've been doing my job for about 19 years now. And alongside it, I have achieved a lot of other kind of professions that have been very passionate for me as well. One of them was my baking side of things and the business as well. So I was born and raised in Mombasa in Kenya, and I moved to the UK when I was 12 years old. So for me, I've always had a real passion about helping and serving people, whether that's on a voluntary basis or whether that's through my job or whether that's through informal ways of supporting people. Yeah, connecting with people and helping them is just been something I've always adored. So I'm really privileged to be here to kind of speak to everybody about my experience with COVID. I have spoken to many, and through my social media platforms when I've shared my experiences, I've had really great responses where people have said that they've heard about my experience back in Australia and some of the remedies and some of the interventions that I used for myself. They tried it and they found it really, really beneficial and useful. So it's been a real, it's really been amazing for me. It's all about sharing our stories and what's worked for us and kind of how we could help others, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, thank you for coming on today. So if we kind of take it back to what was life like before the pandemic hit, most of us didn't even know what COVID was. We've never been in this kind of situation. Like, what was like before?
I mean, before was normal, usual, really busy, constantly on the go. Just everyone is leading a normal lifestyle, really, isn't it? Going to work, managing your home life, going out, social and everything. And I remember when COVID first kind of started to make an appearance on news and stuff, and you heard about it, but you really didn't think it was going to hit you so close to home. You heard about it because it happened in China and everywhere where it first started. And then from a work point of view, we started to obviously get correspondence, from the top to say, we are now working towards this kind of situation that we're going to have to deal with. And we just started to make small amendments and small changes to try and obviously protect, but also be able to still serve on the front line, because that's what our kind of duty is, to serve everyone on the front line. So I did find that obviously things were getting a bit hectic, initially, because nobody knew about this new virus. No one, there was no real guidelines or guidance. Things started to unfold after, because especially when it's something so new, nobody knows about it until you start to look into it a little bit more, but that takes time as well. Yeah, so it was just, the usual, you're busy. NHS has always been busy, as we all know. You turn up to an A&E department, it's heaving, it's busy. So from a service point of view, it's always been a busy service. I work within the community rapid response team, so we actually manage patients in their own homes. So our team's purpose is to try and prevent admission where possible, but obviously we can't all the time do that because there's certain interventions that can only be done in hospital. We started to obviously embrace some of the changes that were happening.
Yeah, and what kind of things, at what point did you and your team perhaps realize that, okay, this is quite serious? Like, what kind of things were you witnessing?
I think when the hospital started to get really busy, because one of the things that we do within our service is obviously support discharges from hospitals. So as the hospitals were getting more and more busy, we were supporting patients who've, gone in with symptoms and complications from COVID and everything, especially with things like pneumonia and stuff. And that's when it was really like, wow, this is coming in thick and fast, and how do we support? And unfortunately, the first part literally is just as soon as we went into lockdown is when I contracted COVID. So I was actually off work and quite unwell for some time. So that phase for me was somewhat of a little bit of a kind of, when you feel like, okay, something's happening, but you're not sure what, and then next minute you're the one who's down with it.
Yeah.
So really that's kind of like where I was within that phase. So obviously I had to look after my own self and also protect my own family as well at the same time. But I know there was a lot of changes happening in work point of view, in the background, but at that point I had stepped out of that.
Chintal, stay with us. We're going to go to our next track, and then if it's okay, just to sort of share at what point, what signs or symptoms you experienced personally that made you think, okay, I need to get tested. This is real. Like sometimes you think, no, I'll be fine. It may not happen to me, but, there has to come a point where it has to become a reality that actually I should get tested because I think I may have COVID myself. So we're going to listen to Hum Tum Ik Kamre Mein Band Ho from the film Bobby, and we'll come back to you straight away.
बाहर से कोई अंदर ना आ सके, अंदर से कोई बाहर ना जा सके, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए, तेरे नैनों की भूल भुलैया में चाबी खो जाए, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए। आगे हो घनघोर अंधेरा, मुझे डर लगता है, पीछे कोई डाकू लुटेरा, क्यों डर रहे हो? आगे हो घनघोर अंधेरा, पीछे कोई डाकू लुटेरा, ऊपर भी जाना हो मुश्किल, नीचे भी आना हो मुश्किल, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, हम तुम कहीं को जा रहे हो और रास्ता भूल जाए, हम तुम कहीं को जा रहे हो और रास्ता भूल जाए, तेरी मैया के झूले में मैया तो भी झूल जाए, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो हम तुम एक जंगल से गुजरे और शेर आ जाए, हम तुम एक जंगल से गुजरे और शेर आ जाए, शेर से मैं कहूँ तुमको छोड़ दे मुझे खा जाए, एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए। किसको खबर है, थोड़ा सा मेरे दिल में ये डर है, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, सोचो कभी ऐसा हो तो क्या हो, हम तुम यूं ही हंस खेल रहे हो और आँख भर आए, हम तुम यूं ही हंस खेल रहे हो और आँख भर आए, तेरे सर की कसम तेरे गम से अभी मर जाए, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए, तेरे नैना की भूल भुलैया में अभी खो जाए, हम तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए, और चाबी खो जाए, और चाबी खो जाए।
एक कमरे के बंद हो from the film Bobby, and we are speaking to Chintal Kakaya, who's sharing her own personal experience of contracting COVID. And actually, I think she had to lock away in her bedroom, so a very fitting song. If you do want to get in touch, ask questions or just share, comment, please do get in touch by downloading the BHF radio app, and you can go into dedications and your messages will come straight to us, or you can email Bhavini at bhfradio.org.uk. So Chintal, just before that song, we were talking about how you contracted COVID. But what made you kind of take the test? What kind of signs and symptoms were you kind of experiencing right at the beginning?
So quite interestingly enough, the time that I contracted COVID, the testing wasn't widely available. I was actually, my symptoms were, at that time it was warm weather. And my symptoms were typical hay fever symptoms. So I had like streaming eyes, scratchy throat, checked my temperature and stuff. All of that was fine. So I suffered with it for about 2 or 3 days, and I was getting a few headaches here or there, but nothing, significant. And then I think it was Wednesday when it started, and then I was, getting on throughout the week with my work and everything. And it wasn't until kind of Saturday, I started to feel more and more tired, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And I know I've had hay fever in the past and similar times where I have felt a bit fatigued and stuff, but this was just a bit kind of abnormal. And then I was checking for the normal symptoms that they tell you to check for, things like fever and temperature and cough and everything. So I didn't have a cough, I didn't have a fever, nothing like that. It wasn't until the Sunday when, again in the morning, I checked my temperature, everything was fine, no cough, no nothing. It was the usual Sunday where we were like, okay, we're just going to get some lunch and everything ready made, and we'll all sit down as a family to have food and everything, and then we'll just carry on. So as I started going, as the day was getting on, I'd made all the food and stuff, and I noticed that I was starting to develop a bit of a cough, and all of a sudden, like my heart started to palpate really fast. Put it this way, literally, I felt like it took me from 0 to 100 within less than an hour.
Oh,
I felt like somebody had just slapped my face, and I had completely turned from somebody who was able to stand for a while, cook and everything. Next minute, I couldn't stand. I was so weak. I had a fever of 40. My heart rate had gone up to like 125. I was coughing. It literally, and I knew that's what this was. So I took myself to my bedroom. Obviously, by then, I was already exposed to my family because of the time, but I took myself to my bedroom. I told my husband, this is definitely COVID by the sounds of it, and then I rang 111. They told me, yep, exactly what you've got is signs of COVID. And they said that at that point, they said people go through two peaks. The first peak is what I was experiencing, which was, the feeling a bit lethargic, a little bit of a scratchy throat, streaming light. They said that's your first peak. And it's when the middle peak hits, that's when I got hit with it. That's when the fever and everything happened. So, yeah, I took myself to my bedroom, locked myself, made sure everything was just being dealt with outside of the bedroom in terms of, my food and everything. Because I kind of had some knowledge behind it, I took action straight away. I informed the children, and obviously my daughter was really, really frightened, really scared. She's 7. All they've ever heard on the news is, COVID and death. And she was like, Mommy, please don't die. And that was the hardest part, because, you're trying to deal with your own emotions of feeling that scare, feeling fear, feeling scared, feeling worried, because when lockdown happened, I was the only person who was going out to work and doing all the food shopping and everything. So there was only one person going in and out. I even refrained my kids from going to school, although they were allowed to and entitled to. I said, no, we'll keep them at home because my husband was working from home. And because my husband has underlying health conditions as well, so here I was torn between my duty of service and my duty of care to my family as well, and protecting them. And it was a tough time as a key worker, because you as a mum, as a woman in that household, you're holding down all these responsibilities, and you want to make sure that your family is protected, but equally you're out there serving other people as well who need that support. But this time it was about me becoming unwell. So I kind of locked myself away. I rang 111, got their advice. They said yes, tachycardia. And now I'm going to go through all the symptoms that I got over the next 7 days, because it wasn't just everything in one day. Every day I was coming out with a new symptom.
Okay.
And I don't have, touch with, any underlying health conditions. I'm fit, I'm healthy. I suffer from chronic anemia, but I've been managing that for the last few years. So apart from that, fit and healthy, nothing else going on. So like I said, on that Sunday, I developed a fever, and my fever was 40 degrees, and even after paracetamol consistently, it still stayed at like 39.8, 39.9. Severe headache, really, really like a heavy head. My mouth went really dry and chalky, muscle pain, all over my body, weakness. I started to feel nauseous. I lost taste, I lost smell. My heart rate, like I said, was really high. Usually I have a normal heart rate between 60 and 100 is the usual kind of heart rate. Even at rest, my heart rate was about 125, 130. Again, the pros for me is because of the work that I do. I had my kit at home, so I could check in on myself. I was looking, main thing was looking at my oxygen levels. What's my oxygen levels doing? What's my heart rate doing? What's my temperature doing?
Yeah.
Lost my appetite. So over the coming days, I started to experience more and more. I mean, I got to a point where I could not even sit on the edge of the bed without being supported for more than 10 minutes. That's how weak I became. Prior to COVID hitting me, I was training. I was training 3 to 4 times a week. I was on a fitness plan. I was everything. And when COVID hit, I went crash, bang, bottom. That's how bad it hits you. And it doesn't matter how long you've been training for, how fit you are, how healthy you are. When this virus hit, it hits you bad. And over time, I was like, and I was the first person, I think, within the whole family and extended family and the friends that I know that had the COVID. So everyone was like, phone calls and stuff, how can we help? For me, the main thing was that I was okay and my kids were okay. Their mental health was really important for me too, alongside my mental health as well. And then making sure my husband, I was really worried because he's got underlying health conditions. So I kind of, obviously, I stayed in my bedroom. I was lucky enough that the weather was beautiful outside, so I was able to keep the windows open and just, embrace that time for myself to really recover and rest, which was really important. And unfortunately, around day 8 is when my fever slowly started to go down. And when I say go down, I was still, hitting around the 38.5 mark. So I still had it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the day when my husband became very unwell and both my kids became very unwell. So I had to come out of looking after myself to looking after all 3 of them and myself. And I think that's the hardest part, because you can't have a physical body in your household to support you, and that's the kind of support you are needing. It's not about delivering food, it's not about doing this, because food delivery and stuff, I was so blessed. I had so many people rallying around after me. My local corner shop, who I have a really good relationship with, they used to drop things off, but you're sanitizing everything that comes in, you're putting stuff away.
Yeah.
My energy levels had dropped significantly. I literally had to keep sitting down. I was breathless. I was short of breath. There were times where at night I was struggling to breathe. But, there were things that which we'll talk about, which I started to do that really helped me, and things that I've shared, which has helped many others now who have gone through that journey as well. But yeah, it was a very tough time, but for me, it was all about embracing what I was feeling, but also focusing on the positive side of things, that I know I can get better, and focusing on what can I do to make myself better and on the path to healing. So yeah, that's kind of like how things really changed, literally within, I'd say, minutes,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really, well, thank you, just coming on and just sharing exactly what it was like for you. And not only you, your husband, your children who are quite young. I mean, how was it for them? Like, when you were self-isolating, I guess that was really hard for them, not being able to see mommy, the usual things that you would do after they come home from school, all that kind of stuff. Like, how did they deal with it?
They say kids are resilient, and they are, but, deep down inside, they're full of fear. I remember my daughter, for a couple of nights, she won't sleep through the night. She just kept calling me to check in on me to see I was okay and I was alive, because she physically couldn't come into the room and see. So obviously, how could I support her? and to make her feel she's part of it, because she keep bringing food up for me. Bless her. You know, I had no appetite, but I didn't want to turn it away either, because she wanted to be part of, I want to look after mum. So I kind of like was WhatsApp video calling my husband, and then we were chatting, you know, via video call. So she felt like, okay, mummy's actually okay. And I was saying to her that because I don't have much energy, I can't talk. But it's not that I'm not okay, but I just feel really drained, so I can't talk. So she understood it, and then every day I used to get her to make a little painting for me, or a picture for me, or whatever she felt that would make me, or whatever she wanted to do for me that was not food related, that she could do for me. So every morning or every mid-morning she'd like pop a picture through the door, just that she's painted and she's made, and that really made her feel part of I'm looking after mum. And that also helped her as well. And after I got her involved in stuff like that, she started to feel a bit better, and she started to understand that actually, you know what, mummy is okay, and she started to sleep better through the night. Because it is, you know, you're 7, and when all you're hearing is COVID and death. I mean, one of the things we then decided as well, because for mental health purposes as well, is, you know, if you're going to watch the news, I said to my husband, just once a day, and that's it. After that, no news, because I think sometimes a lot of this thing, you know, the kids just want to focus on the negative. They don't want to focus on the positives of it. And we were talking about, and I do a lot of kind of positive psychology, and I use a lot of things like meditation and mindfulness, you know, to help with what is it that we could do now in this present moment that's going to help. And then she was helping with a few chores and stuff around, so she felt like she was really getting involved.
That's
and
nice.
You know, whether it was bringing up water for me or whatever it is. But that was that. And then obviously when they came down with it as well, it was really different how they kind of, between my husband, my son and my daughter, how their symptoms were slightly different to what I had. And that's when I noticed also how it differentiated between how COVID affects women and how COVID affects men.
Interesting.
So yeah, it was. I learned a lot from it. That's guaranteed.
Yeah, and we're gonna learn. You know, thank you. We're gonna learn so much from you as well. I mean, just after the next track, we'll find out about these home remedies, or you know, just precautions that you took for your immunity, your general health, and perhaps your family as well. So our next track is called JJ Shivashankar from the film War.
ये बोल दो आएंगे देर से फिक्रे सब छोड़ दो आज हक से अपने हिसाब में हम जो करने चले गलती वो जोड़ लो तो आज यार कुछ लम्हों के लिए बिगड़ी राहों पे तुम पैरों को मोड़ दो आज हक से दुनिया को भूल के जितने हैं कायदे वो सारे तोड़ दो हो खुले ग्राउंड में आके ऊंचा साउंड बजा के रेड यहाँ जम के आजा देसी कमर पे ठुमके उछाल दे तो सारे शर्म आज छट के जरा जरा नशा करके जितनी भी है शर्म दिल से निकाल दे अपनी ही शर्तों पे नचना आज रंगों से कोई नहीं बचना कल सुबह तक अब नहीं थकना रे हो दो राउंड लगा के 100 पाउंड उड़ा के होई बिल्लती बांध चढ़ा के चेंगे हीरो बन कर ओ जय जय शिव शंकर रंगूड़ है भयंकर रंगूड़ रे दो हम आए बन शंकर के मूड है भयंकर रंगूड़ रे दो ओ जय जय शिव शंकर रंगूड़ है भयंकर रंगूड़ रे दो
Hi everyone, this is Navin Kundra and you're listening to the one and only Bhavini Makwana here on BHF Radio. This is the best Saturday morning show on the planet, so keep it locked.
Shiva Shankar from the film War. We are speaking to Chintal, who's talking about her personal experience of contracting COVID, and we're about to hear some of the remedies that she took to help her cope and manage through it. But before we bring Chintal back on, just a quick message from Jasuben, who's listening in from Warwickshire, and just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing a variety of topics onto the show each Saturday, and just wanted to say thank you, and she really appreciates Chintal coming on. I know it's not been hard. Her family also contracted COVID, and if they heard other people when they had it, they felt alone because they didn't know anyone in their own family or friend circle. So she just wanted to say thank you to you, Chintal, for sharing your own experience.
Oh, such a pleasure. Yeah, it can be a very lonely experience. I certainly did feel like that a little bit, because obviously when I first contracted it, I don't think many around me knew of it or had any idea. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate, and that's why, that's kind of like my reason why I'm sharing, wide and far, because it is becoming more and more common with a lot more people contracting it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Since just before Christmas, I started becoming aware of, not just on social media that people I'm connected to, but, friends of friends, friends and families, just so much more in the last 4 months that I started hearing more people that are contracting it. Thank you so much. So you've shared, you took some necessary precautions, and thank you so much for sharing them with us. So if anyone's listening perhaps has COVID currently that could benefit from them, what were they?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through some of the things that I did actually during the time when I had COVID, and obviously carried on since then as well, which has been part of my own recovery process. So when COVID hit, yes, take your paracetamol. You need that for your fever. So even if you feel that, oh my God, my fever's still high after taking paracetamol, don't stop taking it. It's important for you to take it. Your body's fighting off a really strong virus, and so therefore you need that. One of the things, I had no appetite, but what I was doing is I wanted to make sure I was still nourishing my body, because I knew it was fighting an infection. I wanted to nourish it, and therefore I just requested for fresh juices on a daily basis from family, because everybody wants to do something to help you. So I requested for, whether it's juicing has become part of my daily life since then as well. Mix of green juices, anything that's alkalizing is what I call it, and having fresh ginger and stuff in it, just, all these powerful benefits that we receive from all these kind of fresh vegetables and fruits and, spices like ginger and herbs and everything. So that's one of the things. And I was just sipping lots and lots of fluid. I cannot stress how important it is for you to drink fluids. You may not feel like it, but it is so important, because our body needs that fluid, especially when you're fighting an infection. You need fluid in your body. Okay, so I was making sure I was actually going through about 3 to 4 liters of fluid a day. And that was a mixture of warm fluids, which was like one of the concoctions we were making was our usual fresh ginger, honey, black pepper, and turmeric tea. So I was drinking that, sipping that during the day, and whether it's turmeric or cinnamon or whatever it is. Lots of warm fluids, like I said, water. You need it because your mouth gets very dry as well anyway. So yes, fluids is really, really important for not just hydrating, but also to help you to get through this as well, and help release some of that mucus that's within our body as well. Making sure your breathing technique is right. This is like so vital. As soon as you start becoming unwell, or you think you are not able to catch your breath, you start doing the panic breathing. I'm going to try and describe this, because obviously I'm on air rather than face to face. So what I mean by that is a lot of people start using their chest muscles to breathe, and that's like your neck and your chest, rather than breathing properly, where when you're inhaling, your belly is expanding, and then when you're exhaling, your belly is contracting. It's really, really important, and there's a lot of videos out there. If you do yoga, then you know about your breathing, breath work. Have a look. There's videos out there on YouTube and stuff about breath work, how to breathe properly. That is vital, because that will really help you, not just with your airways and stuff, but also your mind, and it kind of forms part of your mindfulness and meditation as well. Rest is quite important, but equally movement is important. Yes, when you feel weak, you're not feeling great, you're just in bed, don't sleep all day long, or don't just lie all day long. Try and sit up in bed, or in semi-sitting, sit on the edge of the bed for a bit, walk around your room. Movement is very, very vital and very key. Even if it's light movement, stretching in bed, all of that is vital, okay? Because our bodies, we work as a whole. It's a whole holistic approach to how we function. It's not just one thing or the other. And then I increased my vitamin C intake. So I was actually taking about 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C in powder form. Vitamin D, which they have said, within our BAME community, they found there's very, very high risk of us having low vitamin D, and therefore it's always good to supplement yourself with vitamin D. And couple of the other things I was doing is making sure that I was doing a lot of steam inhalation, because that helps to release any kind of dry mucus that has been forming in our body. And one of the things I was using as well was doTERRA air drops, which is a pure kind of natural essential oil, and using that. So that was going throughout the day in my room in a humidifier, just to help with my breathing as well, and just to help your mood and everything as well. And then our store cupboard essentials like ajwain, for example. Ajwain is a natural, what we call bronchodilator, so it helps open up your airway. So just dry roasting ajwain in a pan and just kind of making a little butlis, like putting it in a little hanky or a muslin, and then just inhaling that helps as well. That really helped with keeping the airways and stuff as well open. One of the other key things which I highly recommend is try avoid sleeping on your back. A lot of the time we think our lungs are at the front of our body, but actually they're situated at the back of the body. So when you're sleeping on your back, you're compressing the lungs. So therefore, side sleeping is recommended. Or if you struggle with side sleeping, stomach sleeping. If you struggle with stomach sleeping, then try and do a semi-sitting sleeping. This is the reason why I always say it's important not to always be on your back. Sit up for a bit, practice your breathing techniques, and all these things will kind of help you. If you're feeling like you're struggling to breathe, open the window and just kind of get some fresh air in as well. Again, I highly recommend people get what you call is a pulse oximeter, which you can purchase online. That just measures your oxygen levels. Sometimes when we go into panic breathing, we think, oh my God, I'm not getting enough oxygen, but that your oxygen levels be fine. It's just that you're what we call you're going into hyperventilation mode. And therefore, although you're taking in loads of oxygen, you're still retaining the carbon dioxide in your body. So it's again, focus back on your breathing pattern, breathing technique. Take your time to kind of breathe in and then exhale as well. So pulse oximeter is great to have, because even if you're ringing your GP or 111, you can read the vital signs from it, which measures your heart rate and your oxygen levels. At least that way they can guide you a little bit better as well. So thermometer and pulse oximeter are two things I always say to people, keep within your own home. So these are all the things that I was doing from remedy point of view, which is really important. And then, to keep yourself kind of focusing on your own recovery, I believe, I have strong faith, and I'm a big spiritual person as well. So I was focusing more on how to get myself better, and I was visualizing myself getting better and stronger every minute, on a day-to-day basis. So I was listening to, there were nights where I couldn't sleep. But rather than stressing that I can't sleep, I was just listening to bhajans and stuff, because I was like, you know what, that gives me that strength. It's giving me hope. It's giving me, I feel calm. Because that's to stress in these situations is just not going to help you at all. So it's important to focus on what is going to help and what works for me. Certain things work for me, may not work for others, but, a couple of things are, again, that I was doing was making sure, like I said, nourishing your body. So putting the good stuff in your body. If you don't want to eat, fine, but just make sure you're taking stuff that's going to be helping you and your recovery. Movement is key. Writing, I just found that during that time that I had to myself in my own four walls, I was inspired to just write, and I just had a book next to me and I was just writing. And then meditation, mindfulness, and chanting as well. It was just helping. So I saw my Mara next to me, and I just used to do my Mara. So these are just things that we could incorporate that would really help us focusing on getting over what we're experiencing. So I'm not saying ignore how you're feeling, because yes, that's there. We've got to embrace it. But then equally focus on, okay, how do we feel good? It's all about our energy levels as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, we've had a message just come through from Kishore Bhai. Not sure where he's from, but he said, interesting program. Thank you for talking about this. It says, all the best to Chintal, and, wish you all, you and your family great health. So that's from Kishore Bhai. Chintal, thank you so much for coming on and sharing about your experience, and really just thank you. And we're coming up to the end of the show for today, and before we do leave you, just wishing you a happy Mother's Day, which is tomorrow.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to you and all the wonderful moms out there, whether you are a mother or a mother figure, to all the bas, the nannies, the fais, the kakis, the list goes on, even sisters, older sisters, whoever you are, however you're celebrating, a happy Mother's Day. We will be back next Saturday at 10 a.m. on BHF Radio discussing another topic. So please do join. In the meantime, keep well, keep healthy, keep safe, and if you are out and about this weekend, just make sure you wrap up warm and don't get blown away. We are going to leave you with a song for Mother's Day. It is a mother mashup from is it RDJ Royal?
BDJ Royal.
BDJ Royal. All right, so goodbye, God bless, and speak to you all next Saturday.
तू कितनी अच्छी है, तू कितनी भोली है, प्यारी प्यारी है। ओ माँ, ओ माँ, तू कितनी अच्छी है, तू कितनी भोली है, प्यारी प्यारी है। ओ माँ, चोट कभी मेरे लग जाती थी तो आँख तेरी भी तो भर आती थी। जब चोट कभी मेरे लग जाती थी तो आँख तेरी भी तो भर आती थी। एक छोटी सी भूख से तेरी सभी दर्द मेरे होते थे गुम। मैं कभी बतलाता नहीं पर अंधेरे से डरता हूँ। यूं तो मैं दिखलाता नहीं, तेरी परवाह करता हूँ। तुझे सब है पता है ना, तुझे सब है पता। मेरी माँ, जब मैंने देखी दुनिया तुमने गले से लगाया था। जब मैंने देखी दुनिया तुमने गले से लगाया था। राहत मिलती थी, सुकून मिलता था माँ जब तूने गले से लगाया था। मेरी माँ, मेरी माँ, दूर ना जा मेरी माँ। मेरी माँ, मेरी माँ, दूर ना जा मेरी माँ। मेरी माँ,
मेरी रोटी की गोलाई माँ, सर्दी वाली रजाई माँ, मेरा पहला अक्षर माँ, मेरे सबसे भीतर माँ।
स्वेटर वाली बुनाई माँ, छाँव से ज्यादा ठंडी काश पे लगी बंदी। डर लगता है जब रोती है माँ।